miserable witch.
What's the matter? I don't know, I feel like calling a shrink for some reason.
We return to Season 1 of Charmed, which, although isn't as big and flashy as Season 3 or as dark and powerful as Season 4, still deserves far more credit from everyone, myself included.
Go to hell.
Yeah, I'd love to, darling. I miss it terribly.
Us fantasy geeks are spoiled for choice these days, with stuff like Game of Thrones getting $6 million for its first season episodes, and the advances in special effects meaning you can have spectacular battles quite early on. I mean, I only recently found out that if I want a dragon in my micro-budget Sleeping Beauty retelling, it would be easier than you'd think. But these pioneering shows in the 90s and 2000s didn't have that. And although technology would have advanced super quickly even 3 years after this, a lot of the time it was writing around what was possible with what they had to work with. But rather than limitation, you'd often get innovation. Wicca Envy is episode 10 of season 1, and marks the climax of a storyline started in episode 2. Prue got a job at Buckland's auction house, and it soon became clear that her two superiors, Rex Buckland and Hannah Webster, were the literal bosses from hell,
And force the sisters to relinquish their powers.
At this point, they've resorted to indirect methods of trying to get the charmed powers, but Wicca Envy sees them becoming far more direct.
I have seen exactly what you can do when you've been confronted directly. That is why I opted for blackmail.
Rex uses astral projection to trick Prue into bringing home a priceless Romanov tiara, in the hopes of framing her for theft, so he can blackmail all three sisters into giving up their powers to him. We also find out why cattiness comes so naturally to Hannah.
You two know each other. Forgot.
No, you didn't.
Wicca Envy is what TV Tropes likes to call a series finale. In ye old pre-streaming days, networks would test out new shows by only ordering half a season of 10 to 13 episodes. And if it was a rating success, more would be ordered. And since the showrunners had no way of knowing whether something would catch on or not, the last of these episodes would have to be written in such a way that they could serve as a finale just in case they weren't picked up. The biggest example that jumps out to me is the sitcom How I Met Your Mother, and the first season episode Drumroll Please.
I have a solution.
Interested?
With the central premise being Ted Mosby telling his children the story of how he met their mother, the episode is structured around the plot of a woman called Victoria that Ted meets at a wedding, and frames her in a way that, had the show ended there, she could have been the mother. And knowing the debacle surrounding the actual finale, we can just say, if only. But back to Charmed.
But we can't give up our powers without a fight. It's like giving up who we are, who we've become.
Who we've come from.
Exactly.
Wicca Envy stands in as a dummy finale, with the stakes being heightened in that special way, the Rex and Hannah arc being resolved, an uplifting ending where the Halliwells reaffirm their sisterhood, and a revelation about Leo.
Hey, you don't suppose Leo was the...
Fun fact, Brian Krause joined the show only knowing that he would be playing a love interest for Piper, and started panicking when the script for the episode said that Leo was using magic to open drawers, since beforehand any magic user who wasn't one of the Halliwells themselves turned out to be evil. Another less fun fact is that this episode marked a breaking point in terms of the shooting schedules. As the other Aaron Spelling shows of the time were able to get all their episodes filmed in 7 days, that was the initial plan for Charmed. But with all the special effects, stunts and wardrobe changes, filming days would sometimes run over 18 hours. In fact, in certain scenes here, you can see a lot of extra lighting around the eyes, which was brought about by the network complaining about how tired all the actors looked. And you can kind of see it in the performances too.
No.
Eventually they realised they couldn't continue like this, and episodes would then be shot in 8 days rather than 7.
Quite photogenic.
Isn't it?
I always enjoy rewatching Wicca Envy because, quite simply, it holds up very well.
With you behind bars, we'll be divided. Rex wins either way.
We get the bigger and more spectacular Wham episodes like Charmed and Dangerous and All Hell Breaks Loose, where the production values had improved considerably, but it's a testament to the production team that episode 10 still works in its own way.
There has gotta be a way out of this.
Like what, become fugitives? Something tells me that's not the best way to go about protecting the innocent.
There's a saying in the industry, and it's especially stressed around up-and-coming writers and filmmakers who won't have access to big budgets. Write like a producer, which is obviously advice to write something that will be feasible to film. Charmed obviously wasn't a micro-budget show, but it was an uphill struggle to get the necessary funding they needed for all the stunts and special effects. so Wicca Envy would have to be written in a way that it could escalate the stakes to serve as a satisfying finale, while also being accomplishable with the resources they had.
Someone's after you. Behind you.
Rex uses budget-friendly tactics like remote manipulation to get the Halliwells where he wants them, and it's particularly exciting that for Hannah's transformation, they just have a real panther rather than a CGI one. But moving on to analysing the tactics of Rex and Hannah from an in-universe point of view, their plan is to the point and free of any convolutions. They want to trap the sisters into being in trouble with the law so they're easier to blackmail.
Quite photogenic. Now, I should think the police would find this very interesting, to say the least.
Rex uses astral projection in a way that would differ from when Prue gets it as an active power in the second season, where his body is invisible and incorporeal, and he can manipulate the sisters into seeing whatever he wants.
You're having a premonition of Prue at work.
He can even make Phoebe think she's having a premonition, and the difference makes perfect sense when compared to what we know about good powers in this universe.
You want to disrobe for him. Desperately.
Rex's can only be used for manipulation and control, so only an evil being would have it. Prue's manifested as a support ability to allow her to be in two places at once, travel long distances, or provide extra help in a fight.
Witchcraft at its best.
I remember an old fan theory that Prue's astral body was corporeal because she was using her telekinesis to make it so, explaining why she couldn't use her powers from it, which is a neat idea. But back to Rex and Hannah.
We're gonna have to up the stakes.
There is something possibly unintentional but still no less brilliant about how the show's first recurring villains are done in.
Who's setting you up? Do you have any idea who it could be?
It's gotta be somebody at the auction house.
They're warlocks from the underworld, posing as humans and trying to take the Charmed Ones down the human way, but it's a regular theme here that evil just doesn't understand good, which is why Cole as a half-human was able to blend in so well.
And if I had to guess, I would start with the person who said that they were out to destroy me.
Hannah?
Hannah, for example, can't conceal her dislike of Prue, which immediately makes the sisters suspicious when they realise someone's trying to frame them. But more prominently, Rex and Hannah fail to understand that good people aren't so quick to believe the worst about others, which is consistent with what we eventually see what it's like in the underworld, and how every evil being is out for themselves. No one who knows Prue thinks she would genuinely steal a priceless artifact or murder an innocent man, and Andy notes how convenient all the evidence seems to be.
Beats two paths, too easy. The evidence just keeps falling in our lap.
And when trying to take the Charmed Ones down the human way, that ends up being how Rex and Hannah are caught out. 90s internet style.
Why, Hannah, you've changed.
And the evil beings don't account for how the Charmed Ones might have a white lighter there to help them out of a tight jam. And the way Leo's powers are revealed is just a great play. I'm a sucker for the kind of storytelling where the characters have lost hope and everything in the narrative is saying there's no way they're gonna get out of this, and suddenly the solution comes seemingly out of nowhere, but the story has carefully built it up and foreshadowed it without you even noticing.
I don't want to have to do this.
Neither do I, but we don't have a choice. All we can do is take the leap of faith and hope that somehow it all works out.
The story creates an impossibility. In this case, the sisters having to give up their powers with no way out of it. And even when I know this is episode 10 of 178, this scene still packs a punch.
Look.
Drew Fuller on a rewatch of this episode felt that the sisters gave up a bit too soon, but I buy it.
We'd be giving them up to evil.
No, we can't let that happen.
Well, we can't let you die in jail either.
And then what allows the characters to defy the impossible isn't a deus ex machina, but something for which the groundwork has been carefully laid. Leo healing the Book of Shadows walked up that hill so Max could run up it. And this isn't too inconsistent with White Lighter lore that we'd later find out more about, with him apparently having telekinesis being the only thing. But I'll talk more about healing the book when I do a video on Season 4's Brain Drain, which revisits this plot point.
Vanish our powers.
One last time.
And I gotta say, when revisiting these early Season 1 episodes and Brian Krause is only on his 5th one here, it's still instant chemistry between him and Holly Marie Combs.
Nothing can keep me away from you too long.
And speaking of chemistry...
This is part of your old wardrobe. I'm just recycling.
Well, the environment thanks you, but take it off. Yeah, I know.
I could just rewatch these two scenes just to savor the back and forth between all three sisters.
This look like something a depressed woman would wear.
Maybe you should vote.
And I always like it when we get to see Season 1 Prue kick up her heels and laugh, especially considering the ish she has to go through the rest of the episode.
I thought you guys were supposed to be shopping.
Obviously.
And who would have thought that Piper would be the first of the three to exploit what we call, power perversion potential?
Piper, you didn't. I didn't mean to. First time.
And Phoebe the Pungeon Master.
Everything always goes south.
Unless you freeze him.
Oh, I couldn't help it.
Seriously, we fans are able to forgive effects like this when you give us great chemistry moments like this.
Do you mind?
No, are you kidding? I think it's great, as long as he's not still on the clock.
But anyway, I have definitely rambled on and on about Charm's first finale, which, you know what, really does hold up.
Hannah, now, quickly!
I mean, freezing a panther mid-pounce? While the action sequences in Season 3 onward would get very fun and exciting, I do definitely like and have a lot of respect for the way these earlier episodes would find ways to escalate the stakes within what was achievable for the production team at the time.
3.
And considering that by the time the actual finale came around, they were again dealing with budget constraints and other factors, this here was really good practice for what would be a repeat issue throughout the making of the show, in taking whatever you're given and doing your best with it. I'm sure all the Charmed fans are very glad the series didn't end here, but if in a worst case scenario it had, this would have done justice to what we'd already been given.
So witches forever?
I'm damn proud of it.
Ooh.